what are maybe some healthy ways that people can start leaning into these feelings in positive ways, to use it as a way to sort of spark creativity and spark connection rather than to withdraw more? Because I do sometimes see that with folks who are feeling a little bit isolated, feeling a little bit lonely. Sometimes they double down on that feeling,
Right.
and withdraw even more. What would you say to some folks who are withdrawing at this time?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, first of all, know that you're not alone and that it's a really hard time. And that, again, I just come back to the data of nearly 2/3 of Americans feel lonely. Um, that's 2/3 is a lot of people. And especially for young adults and parents and working parents, these numbers have really skyrocketed in the last year. So I think just knowing that it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. This is something that many, if not most people experience. And to just, I like to kind of think of to just do a little bit of a baseline of, who are the people in your life that you really care about, and kind of start there. Cause I think a lot of times we're starting with like, I wish I had more friends, or I wish I was invited to all of these things, or I wish, all of these things were different. And we don't really kind of start with like, who do we have and who are we excited about? Or even just putting, I have an exercise in the book of making a friend map and
Yeah.
just listing a few people that are out there that you consider your people that you're excited about, even if you haven't talked to them in a while. Is a really powerful exercise, just to say, whoa, I actually have some people in my life I like. And maybe even, okay, there's a lot of people that I just haven't reconnected with in a while. And that might be a great place to start. Um, and I think that there's a little bit of a powerful exercise there, and just kind of like acknowledging, and just to think, oh, if these people were to do this for you too, and then reach out and say, hey, I care about you as a friend, or I wish I got to see you more. Like, when can we hang out, or when can we have a, FaceTime? I think the world would just generally be a more, we would all be doing a little bit better if we had that, rather than kind of coming into it from a place of lack, right? Like, what do we already have? And what are we looking for? Like, what's missing, right? And being able to kind of know that and articulate that, and kind of say, okay, I have friends, a lot of friends. Maybe I feel like some of these are surface level relationships, and I'd like more time to go deeper with a few of these people. Who do I want to go deeper with? How can I make that happen? I think that there isn't a little bit of an element of, what I write about in the book, that you kind of have to be a little bit proactive. It's really hard to just kind of sit back and say, like, I want more friendship in my life, it's going to come to me, or people are going to reach out to me. I want to believe that that's the case, but it's often not, right?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of have to make the first move, in the same way with dating, right? In the same way with anything in the world, with getting a new job or building a business, or making a change. Like, it kind of starts with us. We have to kind of say, hey, here's what I'm going for. How can I make that happen? Even if it's like, oh, I'm going to wait. That person hasn't reached out to me in a year. I'm waiting for them. Like, the ball's in their court, right? We say that all the time, like, their move. If you really care about them and they're important to you, just reach out to them. Who cares? Like, no one's keeping score, of like, who said what, like, who reached
Yeah.
out to who when. Like, it's their turn. Like, I reached out the last time. Like, okay, fine. Like, it's not like there's going to be like a report in ESPN about like,
Right.
how many people who initiated how many people initiated, who initiated more often. Just let someone know you care about them, reach out to them, make the move. I more of us doing that, I think, is important. It's, I call it like investing in friendship. It is an investment. Unfortunately, we spend a lot more of our time investing in our social media profiles, or investing in, these other metrics that society has deemed quote unquote important, or that we assume to be important, and less time just investing in the actual people in our lives. Um, I want that to change, or I would love to live in a world where that wasn't the case. Um, but I do think, you have to make that time investment, that energy investment, that kind of, having a few people that you say, okay, this month my goal is to reconnect with these people. Starting small would be a really good, another kind of mantra I have around this. Again, it's not, that's it, I want to redo all the friendships in my life. Okay. That's a big grand statement. What does it look like to just share gratitude with a couple people in your life this week or this month? Like, what would that look like for you? What would it look like to add one friendship ritual to your life? Maybe it's a hike with your buddies. Maybe it's a monthly dinner party. Maybe it's um, creating a new an activity club with people. Maybe even people you don't know. Maybe you just moved to a new city and you're starting a meetup group around something that you care about. Or maybe you're gonna make a goal to connect with one stranger in the next month. Like, what are these like little baby steps that you can take so that it becomes a little bit less overwhelming?
Yeah, and people should definitely check out your book to see more of the rituals that you did with like the postcards and things like that. I really love the suggestions you give, and I like your idea of starting small too, because this is actually a lot of what you talk about is stuff that I've gone through in my 20s as well, where you move around, people move all over the country, you kind of get disconnected, right? And you have to sort of reform the bonds and ask yourself, who do I want to reach back out to? How do I want to reach back out to them? And I like what you said about just showing gratitude, right? Like one of the things I think that prevents people from reaching out is or at least pre-pandemic, they're like, well, if I reach out, then I'm going to end up meeting up with that person. I don't have time to meet up with that person. I'm so busy and stuff, right? And then it's like, and that prevents, I know that like this actually happened to me with my grandfather years ago, where every time I would just call him to see how things are going, he'd be like, let's get lunch. And then I'd have to go to the suburbs. And then it was like a whole thing. And so what I ended up doing was just sending people messages saying, hey, hope you're doing well, miss you. Like just really
Yeah.
simple, no expectation, not even an expectation of a response. And it completely changes. They go, oh, okay, wait a second. Now we can like have less intense, like we can have more small connections that lead to bigger connections rather than like it has to be a big party or something every single time. And one of the things that I think is so interesting, where you talked about the map of friends, where you actually have a physical map and you see where everyone is in the country and in the world. I did this weird exercise years ago where I looked at it as like the planet. There's like the core of the planet, the magma, the crust, the outer crust, and then outer space.
I
And like
love
outer
that.
space is like X's I never want to talk to again. But I put everyone into that list. I like downloaded all my contacts from, I don't know, Facebook or LinkedIn or something. And then one of my friends like, that's a little bit psychotic. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's a bit much. But I at least gave it a shot to see like, who am I close with? And, I only got like 30 people into the list before it was like too many people to manage. I think that's the Dunbar number, right? Of
Right.
150 people. But like,
150.
yeah, it did kind of say like, well, who should I reach out to on a weekly basis? Who should I reach out to on a monthly basis? Like, if I'm going to try and do this, I need some sort of strategy. Otherwise, it's completely overwhelming, right? And I like that you have all these strategies around it. If someone were starting to feel really overwhelmed by the idea of starting to reach out to people, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, past coworkers, what are maybe some things that they can start doing to really think through this in a way that doesn't paralyze them, right? The paralysis of overwhelm that comes from like, okay, I'm going to go to LinkedIn and look at my friends list, or I'm going to go to Facebook and look at my friends list, and now I'm completely stuck. Well, how can they get unstuck?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that kept coming up in the book for me was with research and talking to people was people want to go deep, not wide. They're looking for quality, not quantity. So I would say instead of kind of starting with just like all of the thousands of people that maybe you've connected with or hundreds of people, just who are a few people that you really want to go deep with and starting there and putting those names on a post-it. So I'd say like starting kind of at the inner circle of like who are your best friends, your close friends, people that you really want to go closer with, and kind of just know who those people are, know who those people in your circle are. Would be a great way to start. I think correspondence is another one of reaching it back out to people, whatever that way you do that is. I think everyone's different. Maybe it's letters or postcards or video message or audio messages. It doesn't really matter. I like your idea of just sending a note, of just sending love, wanted to send, notes of being awesome or kind of notes of gratitude or whatever it is, as just a great way to reconnect.